Hi, this is Melissa from Working on Calm, and today I'm going to share 5 things to say to a loved one who's experiencing anxiety. And it comes from an article that I recently wrote for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. I'll have a link so you can check out the article in its entirety and the resources that they have on their website. And a little bit of a background. So I have lived with anxiety for over 20 years, and I have a PhD in psychology. So I've also taught quite a few courses on psychology where we discuss anxiety. And for a while, I was a trainer for Dale Carnegie Training, which gets people to do public speaking or helps people do public speaking. And so it was not uncommon for students or those in my training programs to pull me aside and say, I feel anxious. And at the same time, it wasn't uncommon for me to, in my own personal life, have to pull someone aside and be like, I'm really feeling anxious right now. So I've been both the giver and receiver of an I'm anxious confession. And here are the 5 things I've found most useful, most helpful to respond to someone when they say this. So the first thing is, you are not alone. And it's important for someone to know, especially if they're really suffering in the moment, that there are other people who feel the same way that they do. It can be really isolating when you're in an anxious state. And so it's important to make sure that that person doesn't feel so isolated. This is not the same as saying we all feel that way sometimes, because being anxious from time to time is normal. But it's not the same as being diagnosed with an anxiety disorder or living with anxiety on an ongoing basis. They're two very different things. And so we don't want to, although you have good intentions, if you say something like that, it can feel to the person who's receiving that message like you're invalidating the seriousness of what they're experiencing or minimizing it. So instead, let's focus on you are not alone. The second thing I like to say is there is no reason to feel ashamed, because a lot of times, particularly in our culture, although it's getting better, there's a lot of education around mental health and mental illness. We still have a long ways to go. And so it's not uncommon for someone to feel shame when they are anxious or just really suffering from anxiety. So I encourage you to let that person know that there is no reason to feel ashamed. And this is, I like to sort of equate it with if someone, had high blood pressure. We wouldn't want them to feel ashamed of that. Instead, we would tell them it's okay. Like, let's work through this. We can do this. You don't have to be ashamed of yourself. And hopefully one day anxiety will be on that same level where we don't have that same level of shame. In the meantime, reassure them. The third thing is it's okay to not be okay. We want to let people know, because there's so much pressure when you're in the moment feeling anxious, particularly if you're in front of other people or out in public. There's a lot of pressure to hold it together or to not let anyone know, to hide it or to shove it down. And instead, what's really helpful is for someone to say, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay that you feel like your heart's about to burst out of your chest. It's okay that you feel like you just need to run or get away from the situation. It's not the same as saying, oh, you're okay. Just relax. Take a deep breath. It's not that. It's you're recognizing how bad they feel and you're letting them know it's okay. You don't have to hide it. The fourth thing is, how can I help? A lot of times people will not ask for help, but they might accept it if you offer it to them. So I always encourage people to say, how can I help you? And a lot of times people who are anxious, they know some things that they can do to make themselves feel better. And so they might be able to let you know what you can do to help them. For example, maybe they like to go on walks. They like to get outside. You can offer to go on a walk with them, or if they have kids, you can offer to watch the kids so they can go on a walk alone. Whatever it is that they might need, it's a great opportunity for them to let you know. And then finally, the fifth thing is I support your decision. This is particularly relevant if they need to seek out counseling or a therapist, or if they talk with their doctor and make a decision that they're going to start medication for the anxiety. It's never a good idea to insert your medical advice if you are not that person's doctor. We want to encourage our loved ones to get help, to seek help, to not feel shame, and to take medicine if they need it. So just like that high blood pressure analogy I drew earlier, we would not shame someone, or we would not argue with someone's cardiologist if they diagnosed them with high blood pressure and recommended medication. So let's refrain from giving our medical advice to our loved ones and instead allow them to seek care and advice from good healthcare professionals. So I hope this helps you or a loved one. If you find it useful, then consider following Working on Calm for more of this type of advice. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter under the handle Working on Calm. Or you can subscribe to a newsletter that I put out every week called Take 5. It includes 5 ideas for a calmer mind and body. You can subscribe at workingoncalm.com/newsletter. Hope this helps.